Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Casey, and it is, what is your thoughts on Ubisoft potentially removing friendly fire from casual in Rainbow Six Siege? Yeah, this has been a pretty big topic of discussion lately because it seems like Ubisoft is considering doing this to stop the rampant amount of team killing. It's not so bad on PC, but from what I've heard from people that do play on console, it's kind of getting out of hand. And so while I do know where they're coming from, I understand why they're considering doing this, I don't know if this is the best way of going about it. I have a feeling that this would change casual to its core, and it just wouldn't feel like Rainbow Six Siege anymore. Now, the reason why I say this is that you could actually start to strategize around not having friendly fire on anymore. If you have a fuse on your team, just tell him to start to use his gadget on the objective room, and then everyone can charge on in. The defensive team, of course, has to worry about the pucks. They're going to take damage from that, but everyone on offense can just start to charge on in as soon as that gadget goes off, and while they might have to worry about their screen shaking a little bit, they're gonna have the advantage in that situation. You can also just start tossing nades all over the place with no regard to where your teammates are situated because they don't have to worry about that nade damage. You could also have strategies where everyone just uses light machine guns and never lets off the trigger. They just have someone charge on in, they have a general idea of where the enemy is, you just start to lay fire down on that one spot as 5 people with light machine guns. You never have to worry about someone randomly walking in front of your shot, and you're going to be able to take out anyone that's in that spot. Like, they're not going to be able to retaliate. These are the kind of strategies I would assume that would prop up after a change like this. Another reason why I'm not entirely sold on this is that this is a pretty big deviation from the way that ranked works. Obviously, Ubisoft talked about a long time ago that they wanted casual and ranked to be fairly equal so that when someone jumps in for the first time, they understand the rules of ranked. You play casual for the first tens of hours to get comfortable with the game, and then once you get a good grasp of that, you jump on over to ranked and you're good to go. Well, as soon as you turn off friendly fire, that's no longer the case. People, when they first start to play Rainbow Six Siege, they're gonna get comfortable with not having to worry about friendly fire, and then as soon as they jump on over to ranked, they're gonna get team kills constantly because that's just not programmed in the way that they play the game. Now, one thing that is worth noting is that they have finally added in a report toxicity button on the technical test server. This has been something that the community has been asking for basically forever at this point. You have someone on your team who is just being toxic, they're raging in chat, they're team killing every once in a while. They're not team killing to the point where they get kicked from the server, but they start that vicious cycle where they cause toxicity where everyone starts a team kill to stop that person from team killing. And so having the ability to actually report this person in-game could go a long ways. And so all in all, I'm really holding on to hope that Ubisoft truly isn't considering turning off friendly fire in casual. I don't necessarily think that a report toxicity button is going to solve all of our problems, but I do think that it's going to be a step in the right direction. As long as people are using it appropriately and it's functioning the way that I hope that it will, people's accounts are going to get flagged if they are being toxic, they're going to get reviewed by the Ubisoft employees, and then hopefully banned for a couple of days. That should reduce the toxicity of the game, that means less team killing, and that might be the step in the direction that the game needed. I don't think that that is going to be the perfect solution, but I do think that it is vastly superior to just completely changing the way that one of the game modes works. The next question comes from Jeremy, and it is, after playing a while with Zofia, do you think that she is overpowered and will replace Ashe? Why in the world would you play as Ashe anymore, when you can play Zofia with no reloading of her gadget, concussive mines, and impact nades? Well, I will admit that Zofia is incredible, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ubisoft toned her down slightly. I don't necessarily think that she needs to have access to 4 concussive nades. If they dropped that down to 3 or 2, I still think that she would be awesome, but even if they didn't do anything like that, if they kept her the way that she was, I don't think that she's all of a sudden going to make Ashe obsolete and no one's going to want to play as Ashe anymore. I consider Ashe to be one of the best offensive operators in the game. I know this is just my opinion, but she has an awesome weapon, she's 3 speed, tiny hitbox, awesome gadget, she's the complete package. And while yes, Zofia does fit a lot of those same categories, they're not exactly the same operator. Why in the world would you no longer choose one of the best operators in the game simply because there is another option there? I have a suspicion that we're going to be seeing a lot of Ashe and Zophias on the same team, because why wouldn't you? As long as you have your bases covered, someone who can get through a reinforced wall like Thermite or Havana, and then someone who can deal with the gadgets behind those reinforced walls, you're gonna go with those other options. Now, maybe in the competitive and pro scene, we're not gonna see as much as Ashe because they're gonna have to make that choice just simply because of their strategies, but even then, I don't think it's gonna be much of a problem. And so all in all, while I do agree with you that Zofia is incredible, and I would not be surprised whatsoever if Ubisoft toned her down, I don't think that Ashe is going anywhere. The next question comes from Gary, and it is, what do you think about Ubisoft giving Valkyrie an update where she can shut her cameras off if she's still alive? This would directly counter Dokebi's camera's ability and keep her objective/team safe. I've noticed there's been a lot of discussion lately about being able to hack Valkyrie's cameras because a lot of people think that it's just going to make Valkyrie obsolete and it's just overpowered. And while I do see where these concerns are coming from, I don't think it's nearly as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. First of all, you actually have to find someone's phone to be able to use it to then hack the Valkyrie cameras. I mean, that's a big step. It's not like all of a sudden you can just hack into the wall and you've got access to all of the cameras. The other reason being is that a lot of the times, if a Valkyrie knows what they're doing, and they should hopefully now account for a Dokebi being on the opposite team, they're going to be able to place their cameras in spots that don't really give a nice viewpoint of the objective. If Valkyrie throws one right above all of their teammates, then yeah, that's going to be pretty crazy if it gets hacked. But most Valkyries are gonna account for that, and they're gonna place it maybe around the fringe of the objective where their teammates aren't located, but they can get a nice viewpoint of the enemies progressing towards the objective room. Valkyries are going to adapt. Everyone adapts when a new operator is introduced, and I don't think Valkyrie players are gonna be any different. Now, if she is successful in hacking into one of those phones, defense has a lot of ways to respond to that. They can keep their cameras up, because this is something I don't think a lot of people are aware of. As a defender, you can still use your cameras when they're hacked. The offensive team can also still use them, but you can also still take advantage of that. There's been some times where I saw someone was in the big main entrance of Chalet. I was peering through that camera, I saw someone on it, and then I started to progress towards there to try to take them by surprise. Little did I know, they were also using that same camera, and as soon as I rounded the corner, they knew I was there, and they promptly took me down. It's a bit of a double-edged sword there. There is a really cool interaction. Also, if defense wants to, they could just simply take out the camera whenever they want. If they don't think it's going to be advantageous and they think that it's going to give the offensive team too much of an advantage, well, then just quickly take it out of the equation. And then finally, I think it's okay to have a big counter to Valkyrie. I consider Valkyrie to be an incredible operator. I constantly play her because of that intelligence, and I think it's okay to have someone that is that direct counter. Now, some could argue that IQ is her counter, but this just kind of takes it a step further. I think that could be a good thing for Rainbow Six Siege. And so it's for all of these reasons why I would say wait and see on this. I may change my tune in a couple of weeks. This might make Valkyrie obsolete, but I think because there are those interactions, there is that counterplay that is involved, I think it could actually make for some really interesting gameplay. The next question comes from Chris, and it is, with the new operators such as Zofia, do you think that this may make Jaeger more obsolete as the amount of projectiles now within the game is increasing? Maybe instead of each ADS only taking out 2 projectiles, do you think it would be worth increasing this to 3 projectiles per ADS? So I find your word choice interesting here because, yes, you could argue that this makes his gadget not as good because you could just bombard the objective with the amount of nades in the game or projectiles, but I would actually argue that this makes him even more of a required choice. If you don't have any buffer for defense whatsoever against the wide array of different gadgets that are going to be flying through a window, you're going to have a hard time being successful. And so I would say that Jaeger needs to have his ADS. He needs to be on the defensive team to at least give you some time to react and to slow down their progress. That said though, I do understand why you would say that he's becoming obsolete. If everyone on offense is able to throw in like 5 different nades into the room, yeah, it captures the first 2 of them, but eventually they're gonna be able to get through that defense and be able to start to nade the objective, which could cause some problems. And so what I would like to see is that instead of just flat out buffing Jaeger and making him even more of a required choice on defense, is to bring in another new operator that fits that same role. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they could introduce another gadget that does the same thing but slightly differently, but Ubisoft has surprised me in the past. I love diversity. I love to have different options, and as soon as you give a big upgrade to someone like Jaeger, who I already consider to be pretty required, you're just gonna make him even more of a required choice, and that reduces that diversity, and that is something that I never want for Rainbow Six Siege. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that Ubisoft should turn off friendly fire in casual? Do you think that would be a bad way of handling things? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.